मैं ती डोली दे विच पानी सी, जालम ने बक्से विच पा दित्ती। मैं अपनी रीस पुगानी सी, पर जालम ने जित पुगा दित्ती। ती मेरी बड़ी प्यारी सी, वो बड़ी ही अकलां वाली सी। असी रीझां दे नाल पाली सी, छोटी उमरे ओह सुला दित्ती, मापियां दी जान मुका दित्ती। मैं डोली विच बिठाउणी सी, डोली फुल्लां नाल सजाणी सी, हत्थां ते मेहंदी लाउणी सी, तू ऐनी काहली पा दित्ती, मेहंदी लहू दे विच वहा दित्ती। ਧੀਆਂ ਡੋਲੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਬਹਿਣ ਦਿਓ, ਇਹ ਬਕਸੇ ਖਾਲੀ ਰਹਿਣ ਦਿਓ, ਮਾਪਿਆਂ ਦੀ ਇੱਜ਼ਤ ਰਹਿਣ ਦਿਓ, ਇਸ ਬਾਗ ਨੂੰ ਖਿਲਿਆ ਰਹਿਣ ਦਿਓ। ਇੱਕ ਮਾਂ ਨੇ ਗੱਲ ਸਮਝਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਮੈਂ ਧੀ ਡੋਲੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾਉਣੀ ਸੀ, ਜ਼ਾਲਮ ਨੇ ਬਕਸੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਜ਼ਾਲਮ ਨੇ ਬਕਸੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ, ਜ਼ਾਲਮ ਨੇ ਬਕਸੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਾ ਦਿੱਤੀ।
I want to welcome you here to Surrey Centre, my riding, or it's your riding that I represent. Maple is a very special story. I didn't know her personally very well, but my wife knew her very well. She used to do the fashion show and model ironically, at an organization that was preventing gun and gang violence called CORSA, Central Organization and Resource for South Asians. She had come in there and she was the lead there, so we had seen her all the time, got to meet her. And then this tragedy happened in 2011, which we all don't need to repeat, but we all know. But what it did is actually brought awareness into ending violence against women, making awareness for parents to be more receptive to seeing signs or cues of when our daughters, our sisters, and our loved ones are in relationships that might have symptoms of violence or threats and whatnot. And I'm very happy to see that this family, Mr. and Mrs. Batalia and her sister, has, rather than taking this tragedy and just being deeply and emotionally set in gloom and doom, they try to put a positive twist to it to inform the community, to make sure others don't ever fall in this trap. And I want to commend Barinder Rasode as well, who's helped the family in order to move on in that direction. And this film, I think, Jasleen Kaur is put together, is going to be a great way for us to memorialize what a life she is, and also to raise the awareness that this type of behavior and these types of actions are intolerable in a society like Surrey, like Canada. I would like to commend Manu as well, International South Asian Film Festival, for highlighting great movies like this, like the one Mr. Campbell has done as well, to raise cinema to a new level, raise the arts in our community to a new level, and to showcase Vancouver as a film city, to showcase how it's an international and a multicultural and a diverse city. That's why you saw the Prime Minister recognize this in his video reading. He regrets not being able to be here, but him and Sophie have both been very impressed with the work that the Vancouver International Film Festival does. So without further ado, I want to thank you all and commend this great initiative and keep this going. I think this is going to be bigger cinema halls and bigger venues will be needed in the future. Thank you.
Documentary and films has become a medium to raise awareness, and today we want to highlight that Jasleen and the entire team has done a fabulous job. They have been working tirelessly, long hours on producing this film. So I want to recognize Jasleen. She's a very young girl. She's inspiring to me. You know, she's spent so much time in creating a story like that. And when you see her friends and her family talk about Maple, it just sounds so beautiful. You know, they have taken the time to make the film look amazingly beautiful. I want to welcome Maple's family as well. I know they're in the audience. So such a call to you if mom and dad are here, and Rosie as well. I would now like to invite our Honorable Ginny Sims, Minister of Citizen Services, to come up on stage and say a few words. A big round of applause for her.
here, and we're really glad that the Vancouver International Film Festival is taking place in Surrey. But this movie, Jasleen, where are you sitting?
I'm right here.
Okay. Thank you so much for your art and for your passion and your energy in researching this story and making the video, the movie. And as I was standing outside and thought about the movie being played in here, I myself relived all the emotions that the community went through. And I was thinking of Maple's mom and dad. And whenever there has been a death due to violence in Surrey, Maple's dad is always there. Whether somebody's died in a tragic car accident or it's been a shooting, he's always there to give his words and share his own experiences and share the pain. And that takes a very special person. That takes a very special person. So thank you so much to the family. And I was so delighted that so many young people are in this room today. And I was also delighted that there are so many young women. But I want to do a special acknowledgement to all the young men who are here today as well. A big round of applause for the young men. This kind of violence is not limited to any socioeconomic group, nor is it limited to any cultural group, nor is it limited to any educational tier of any kind. Domestic violence, relationship violence crosses all boundaries and barriers. And in order to address this, yes, the governments have a role, but we as a society have a role as well. I think through We Can End Violence Against Women and other international programs, through federal and provincial programs and the city working together, but we as parents also have a role to play. I have a son, I have a grandson, I have a granddaughter and a daughter. It's about teaching our children about the impact of violence and about dealing with conflict and dealing with emotions in a non-violent way. And so today's not really the day for political speeches, but I want to keep it focused on Maple. Because Maple left us with something. In the community here in Surrey, the awareness that was raised and the kind of emotions that were evoked are still palpable when you walk outside. And I can feel them in this room today too. And when my young niece walked in, though I didn't recognize her at first, I kept thinking how hard it must be for mom and dad today, Maple's mom and dad, her sister, and the rest of the family. Because to them, every day, night, morning, they have Maple in their hearts. And for them, Maple is not a story. She's their little girl. A little girl who didn't get to live her life to its fullest. A girl who had big dreams. And a girl who has so much to give to the world. So once again, Jasleen, thank you. And I'm not going to say enjoy. I'm going to say let us share the memories of Maple and use those to build a more peaceful world for the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sims. I also want to add on that, the festival itself wants to highlight South Asian artists, and I have worked with Maple myself a few years ago, and she was going to be the upcoming Hollywood star, something that we've been trying to bridge the gap with, and everybody knows how talented she was. The sweetest face, the sweetest looks, the polite voice, everything. It was just so beautiful. So today we're gonna remember her in the most beautiful way. Let's think about the memories we shared with her. Also, I wanna see where uncle and auntie are sitting. I can't see them at this point.
They're in India.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry, they're not
They
here.
were put them here. Maple's who's that up?
Is Rosie here?
No, she's in.
Okay. So I hope somebody's recording this so we can send this out to the family in India as well. I won't take any longer. I will now invite Ms. Shobana J. Madhavan to come up on stage. She's representing Surrey, SFU, and the other campuses as well. She is the AVP External Relationships. Welcome, Ms. Madhavan.
Thank you, Manu. Always a pleasure to collaborate with you, and always inspired by the fantastic work that you do. Always trying to connect people, ideas, and issues across our communities. It's my pleasure to be here with very distinguished guests, Member of Parliament, Mr. Sarai, and Honourable Minister, Ms. Sims, who work tirelessly to make sure that our problems become problems for government to take a look at and solve, but also acknowledge how important it is for communities to be connected. When we lost Maple, I was actually working in the BC government, and I was working with an office called the Provincial Office of Domestic Violence. And that office was set up to basically look at this issue more seriously. And very much like what our minister just stated so correctly, relationship violence or domestic violence, spousal violence, dating violence happens across all cultures, all socioeconomic groups, education groups around the world. And that is why we sometimes, in social work parlance, we call it a wicked social problem, something that just won't go away. And it's quite incredible that with technology today, we are able to help people in the most remote and rural places of the world to have surgeries done, complex surgeries done, using technology from miles away, connecting doctors to scans to the patients. We've solved so many problems on many fronts, but when it comes to relationship violence, somehow it's like this problem is just there, staring at us in the face every day, that we forget it's there. So it takes documentaries and movies sometimes to wake us up from our slumber, our apathy, our whatever our state of mind is, to say we're not doing enough probably, or maybe we're not being creative enough in how we solve these problems. I have two sons, they're 20 and 17. So I'm in a male-dominated home because it's my two sons and me. And we have many conversations about why is there so much violence against women and girls. There are amazing men, there are amazing male partners, amazing fathers, brothers, boyfriends, husbands, leaders in our community. And many of us are fortunate to have them in our lives. But there seems to be a predominant violence against women. And the question is why? What are the real reasons? And I fundamentally believe, very much like what our minister said previously, is that apart from governments and communities and academic institutions doing their part, individually and in our families, we have to do a lot. Just the way we teach our children not to throw garbage on the road, just the way we teach children not to plagiarize their assignments, just the way we teach our children not to steal the friend's lunchbox in the afternoon just because they forgot to take theirs. We've got to make it clear and explicit. It's simply not okay to be disrespectful and violent in a relationship if you want one and you have one. And I don't know how many more voices and how many more days or years we're going to have to spend to do that. But what we're doing here today basically says we care about this issue. Just look at this hall. It's filled with young men, women, older men and women who are here because they care. And we need to continue to do this. And I can't thank Manu enough for giving a platform for all of us to come together, to take a look in the mirror and look at a problem, relationship violence, that is plaguing our society and will continue to if we don't do something. I want to conclude by saying that all of us have wonderful people in our lives. I have my mother who's sitting in the back row. She's 77 years old, Subhadraji. My dad passed away. My mom and dad, not perfect, but they did one thing right. From day one, they told my sisters, my sister and me, and my one brother, the three of us are equal. We got the same opportunities. I got to ride a motorbike long before my older brother could. We got the same amount of pocket money. We could keep our hair short or long. I could wear shorts, my brother could wear shorts. We could go out at night. We had the same rights and freedoms in my home from day one. And I love them, I admire them for what they did, because dad had grade 12 education, mom has grade 10 education. And they knew what was right in terms of raising their boy and two girls. So, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you all for being here, passionate about this issue. I remember with utmost respect and love a wonderful human being called Maple. And I want to thank all filmmakers that are here with us. Thank you for your wonderful art. You make the world a better place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shobnaji Madhava. I just want to take this time and thank SFU. They are our venue partner for screening throughout the day today. They've given us this hall for as a sponsored hall to screen Maple's film. So thank you, SFU, Simon Fraser University, and Mr. Steve Dooley to present his support to the film as well. I would now like to invite Jaquil Campbell. He's done a beautiful film also on gang violence. He's a young boy that's taken his time to take the opportunity to take this initiative in his hand and actually tell young men in our society that violence is not okay. And I want him to come up on stage and tell us why he thought it was important for him to make a film like that. So just a warm welcome for Jaquil Campbell. His film is going to be playing before this.
Hello everyone, it's Sansri Akal. My name is Jaquil Campbell and I'm the director of Help Wanted. Help Wanted is about Indo-Canadian gang violence. And it follows Bubin, who is a Punjabi teenager who is torn between gang life and family life at home. And for me personally, it's about a young boy, or rather young men and women who want a sense of belonging somewhere. And if they don't find that at home, they go elsewhere. And and if anybody has questions or comments, I'll be available after the screening. And and please say hi.
Thank you. I would now like to just address the program for the next few minutes. I'm going to invite Justine Court to come up on stage and say a few words. And after that, we're going to watch one of the screenings, followed by a small Q&A that we've planned with Justine and Ms. Madhavan. We would just like to engage with the audience. If there's any comments and concerns you have, we'd like to address them. So if I can welcome Justine Court to come up on stage now. Thank you.
Hi everyone. My name is Jasmine Cord. I'm the director of Maple. Maple Batalia was gunned down right outside of this campus. So I want to start by thanking Maple's friends and family for being here. It can't be easy to constantly be reminded of how Maple was taken from you, but you continue to come to these events and support the message that we're all trying to get across with this film. Mr. and Mrs. Batalia regret not being able to be here because they're in India, but they've been present at both screenings that we've had, and they continue to speak out every chance that they get. So props to them. They are without a doubt the bravest people that I know. To take the most tragic thing that has happened to you and turn that into something that will help the community is truly commendable. I also want to take a moment to thank Maple's niece, Simon Batalia, who has been a champion for her grandparents. She did an incredible job speaking for them at our St. Pete Domestic Violence Forum that we were at last month. And she's also accompanied me to various interviews to promote the film, so thank you, Bruno. And thank you to Rosie Batalia, because I could not have done this film without her. I've said this a lot, but I just think it's so insane. Maple and I were coincidentally born on the exact same day, March 4th, 1992. We had never met, but her story affected me in a way that I couldn't even really comprehend, and for years I obsessively followed the trial and the story because I wanted to know more about her and what the issues were surrounding her death. The hashtag We Are All Maple is so relevant to so many of us. So I want to be clear today. Don't watch this film and then just do nothing when you walk out these doors. If you see someone struggling in an abusive relationship, please help them. If you hear a misogynistic comment, say something to the person you heard it from. If you so much as see a little girl be told that the rules are different for her and that she's not as important as her brother, stand up against that. It's these little things that go unnoticed that contribute to a larger problem. We need to stand up for kindness and love. So please, it's not enough to just watch this and be aware of these issues. You need to speak up if these things are happening around you. Like Sergeant Batalia says in the film, committing atrocities and tolerating them, same thing. So thank you. I'll be around after the film to do a Q&A and also to chat if you want to talk more about the film. Thanks.
I'm sure we're all going through the same thing. Can we give Justine a standing ovation? I'll take this opportunity and invite Justine friends to come up on stage. They have a little token of thanks for her, if they can come up on stage.
So we just actually want to acknowledge Justine for doing such a great job and putting in so much hard work and dedication and making Maple's story come to light. Sorry. I think Karen said it all. And I think if Maple, wherever she is, she's probably smiling down. Thank you so much.
I think it's one of those moments when everything that's going through our mind is so deep and so broad and so painful that there's no words sometimes to express what we're feeling in the moment. But at the same time, like all things in life, when we have such a difficult issue in front of us, this is the time to talk and to break the silence, as our Honorable MP, Mr. Sarai, said in the documentary. So Ms. Kaur and I are just going to be here to help facilitate a conversation. And I know it's very difficult and we're going to go into a quiet space probably, but that's exactly the reason why violence against women and some men happen in our society, because people choose to be quiet and go to dark places. So I encourage all of you to give yourselves up to this conversation. And right here in this room, there are so many women and so many men who are fighting and talking to make this world a better place. So whoever feels comfortable, open up the floor. We'll do our best to answer the question or respond to your comment, and if we don't, hope someone from the audience will.
What I want to know, how serious are we to fight against the violence? When we say to fight against the violence against the woman, we leave 75% of the society out. In each household and society at large, there's men, women, children, and seniors at home. So are we going to accept violence against the children? Or are we going to accept violence against the senior citizen? When we invite politicians, today they spoke, I have nothing against any individual. Today they spoke against violence against a woman. Tomorrow somebody will have another forum, violence against children. They will say the same thing. If we are serious, we have to approach this problem as the firefighters approach a house on fire. They do not try to save a beautiful girl there because that's the only daughter. They do not try to save only a boy because he's going to carry the family name. They do not try to save the parents because they were providing for them. For them, each life is important. So they try to save everybody before they start fighting the fire or trying to save the house. So if we want to succeed, I think we have to approach that we are against violence, not one section of the society or the other. Thank you.
With Gary, with Maple and all that, the common theme is that there's no one to really listen. We love to say, hey, I'm here for you. I'm here for you. You know what, if you have a problem. But we don't ever really listen to them, right? That's the biggest thing, is we're always focused on our own problem. So as Uncle said, violence against kids, women, whatever it may be, we have to start coming together as a community and listening to one another. That's the biggest thing. Only then can we move forward, because I don't know what it feels like to be a woman that's been abused. But if I can listen to her and help her be able to speak about what's going on, I think that's how we can really move forward. Because Gary, as an example, I grew up in Surrey, and there's a lot of brown South Asian men that, you know what, you're taught to man up. Or you know what, you're not doing anything with your life, so you know what, you keep it to yourself. And I think that's why it all bubbles up, and then the guy does something crazy, right? They don't have an outlet. So I think it was incredible, but I think as a community, we need to start listening to one another. That's all I said.
Listening without judgment.
Exactly, without judgment is key.
Hi, Yasleen. Just want to say again, I'm so proud of you. I'm just so proud. That's all I have to say. You made me cry again. You know, I'm one of the judges of this beautiful event done by my beloved sister Manu, who also shares my name. This child I'm so proud of. Thank you for doing this. Thank you. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
I just wanted to make a comment about what you said there. Sorry, I'm just a little emotional. But I think in this video, yes, we were focused on violence against women because I lost my sister. My coworker lost their daughter. That's why we made it violence against women. But as in the video I spoke, was that we need to teach boys and girls at a young age not to abuse each other. We need to teach parents, we need to teach the kids that your brother or sister isn't above you, that we are all equal at the end of the day. I mean, I think Jasmine did an amazing job for what she did, but her main focus wasn't only violence against women, it was focused about violence in general. It's just this video made it seem like it was against women because of it being based on Maple. I mean, I work as a RN in an intensive care unit, neonatal intensive care unit, so I work with premature babies. And trust me, I've seen so many situations where I see the mom cannot speak up because the dad is controlling everything. She wants to breastfeed her child, but dad says, no, we need to bottle. Mom wants to says, I want to hold my baby. No, you can't hold your baby, I want to hold it. And then I have to speak up saying, no, this isn't just your baby, it's her baby too, right? And both ways. I mean, even at work, I make sure that the dads are involved with the care. Sometimes I have dads who say, I don't want to touch the baby, like I don't want to be anywhere near it, kind of thing. But I tell them, no, this is just as much as your baby, so you have to take care of it as well. मैं पंजाबी च भी दस सकती हाँ at the end of the day ਆਪਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਮੰਮੀ ਡੈਡੀ ਦੀ ਰਿਸਪੈਕਟ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਦੀ ਰਿਸਪੈਕਟ ਕਰਨੀ ਚਾਹੀਦੀ ਆ ਤੇ ਨਿਆਣੇ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸਿਖਾਉਣਾ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਆ ਵੀ ਮੇਰੇ ਘਰ 'ਚ ਇਹ ਸਿਖਾਇਆ ਸੀ ਮੇਰਾ ਭਰਾ ਮੈਨਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈਗਾ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੇ ਮੈਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਭਰਾ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਹੈ ਜੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਦੋਨੇ ਇਕੁਅਲ ਆ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਦੋਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰਿਸਪੈਕਟ ਇਕੁਅਲੀ ਮਿਲਦੀ ਆ ਮੇਰੇ ਮਮ ਡੈਡ ਨੇ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਹੈਲਪ ਕਰਾਈ ਗਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਾਲਜ ਜਾਣ ਲਈ ਆਪਣੇ ਗਾਂ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਬਲਦੀਸ਼ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਭਾਂਡੇ ਮਾਂਜਣੇ ਪੈਣੇ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕਿਚਨ 'ਚ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਪੈਣਾ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਕੁਕਿੰਗ ਕਰਨੀ ਪੈਣੀ ਆ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸਿਖਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਉਹ ਤੂੰ ਆਪਣਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਮੰਗਦੀ ਆ ਤੂੰ ਨਰਸ ਬਣਨਾ ਮੰਗਦੀ ਆ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਟੁੱਟੀ ਕਲੀਨਿੰਗ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬਾਅਦ 'ਚ ਹੋ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਪਰ ਪੜ੍ਹ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਜਦੋਂ ਤੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਹੁਰਿਆਂ ਘਰੇ ਜਾਊਂਗੀ ਅਸੀਂ ਮੰਗਦੇ ਤੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੈਰਾਂ 'ਤੇ ਖੜੀ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਜਾਊਂਗੀ ਨਾ ਕਿ ਆਪਣੇ ਹਸਬੈਂਡ ਦੇ ਥੱਲੇ ਤੈਨੂੰ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਪਊਗਾ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਤੂੰ ਪੈਸੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਕਮਾਉਂਦੇ so at the end of the day we all are equal in my opinion.
Because we're sitting in kind of a classroom kind of a model, it looks a bit top down. But I think what we're having here is actually a dialogue, a very difficult but needed dialogue. And I just want to go back to what Abu Bakr just said a few minutes ago. I had the pleasure of meeting him just this week. And what struck me was that, how much empathy and non-judgment this young human being is capable of. And if you don't mind me sharing, Abu Bakr, while we were at an event, a lady came along and introduced herself and said, what do you do? And I think his response was, I live. My job is to live my life. And I've been thinking about that because I have 2 young sons, and they're 20 and 17. And I've been reflecting because I have been touched in a negative way by things that have happened in my own personal life. And I've thought a lot about it over the years. But I've thought a lot about how can I be the kind of a mother who will not force my children to be respectful towards all, men, women, children, seniors, but who will just automatically choose to be decent, kind, generous, and respectful. Like, what do I need to do? And what I've realized is that it's a lot of work. It's a lot of critical thinking. It's got to start from day one, where your daughter, leaves a plate and you say, hey, wash it and put it away. Your son leaves a plate, it's like, hey, wash it and put it away. Where on the weekend you say, take turns, do the laundry, or please go make some tea or make some coffee. Where everything from the beginning is a shared responsibility. Nothing is beneath somebody, nothing is above somebody. I really want to go back to what Uncle said I hope you don't mind me referring to you, as Uncle said a few minutes ago, right? This is not about a young woman or an older woman or a man or a person with disability. This is about us as humans. And we should stop dividing up the issue into little parts because they're all so interconnected. And like we go and attack a house on fire, all of us, irrespective of what our beliefs are, our political affiliations are, gender is, or our sexuality or sexual orientation is, coming together and really challenging those things that's not okay is the only way to A, talk about this problem openly, and B, do something about it, right? And every single person counts. We need people to listen. We need people to intervene. We need people to make sure the justice missionary roads. We need artists to make movies and documentaries. We need people to hold mirrors against us and say, look at yourself. Are you being the best person you can be? We just need everybody to be part of this conversation. So one thing I want to throw out there to the audiences, I see many, many young men and women in this room. I'm very curious, as young people, some of you might be dating, some of you might be engaged, some of you might be married. Can you share some thoughts? How do you think that relationships can be violence-free when our society, the media, movies, video games, magazines, newspapers promote so much of violence directly and indirectly? How can we make sure our personal lives, our intimate lives are violence-free? I would love to hear what young people in this room have to say.
Hello, can you hear me? So something I've kind of been reflecting myself is women's issues is also translated into men's issues. For example, I think Maple shows a great example of how much we're trying to push forward for women to get that equal rights. Like Maple, she was able to pursue what she wanted, whether it was in the academics, or the arts, going into film and modeling. But I think what we're lacking is trying to bring men in. And by that, what I mean is, showing them that this toxic culture that men have, where someone brought up earlier, where men just feel like they have to man up or have this image of, not showing emotion, not knowing how to handle with their emotion, resorting to maybe anger. And again, I'm not saying that's all men, but there's some sort of portrayal of this that we see a lot in media, for example, and get them to realize like it's okay to show the qualities that we perceive as feminine, whether it's cry if you need to cry, talk when you're going through a hard time. So trying to bring men in as well and teaching them that it's okay to be vulnerable, and trying to break through that stereotype of what a man is quote unquote supposed to be. So thank you.
Can you guys hear me? I think the issue here is that there's really no set guidelines for a relationship. It's something that we learn from our daily interactions. We watch our family members. Our parents are our biggest, someone we really look at. And that's where we learn relationships from. I think it's really important to point out by videos like this, by raising awareness of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable in a relationship. Like you said, some of us come from families that, are used to domestic violence, and it's quite accepted in some families, which is quite shocking, honestly. And I think the biggest issue is to teach our younger generations what a relationship should be. And it starts with teaching them equality of women and men, whether it's, it doesn't matter what your background is. You could be completely uneducated, or you could be completely educated. We've seen domestic violence with completely, really, really rich people who you would think are extremely educated, and it makes no difference. So it's really not the education, it's about our teachings and its upbringing. So really, as parents, as leaders of the community, and as role models, it's important to set that example for your children, for everybody else around you, and make sure that we teach our children, and even your younger, like she's my niece, and I would hate to see anybody involved in that kind of a situation. And it's important to speak up, and I thank you very much for making this video, because Maple was my cousin, and watching this happen, it totally broke us. And it's really nice to see that we're raising awareness, because I think that in this community, if it's out of sight, it's out of mind. So if you're not seeing it, you pretend like it doesn't exist. So it's really, really important that you bring this to light and you show people what happens when you keep quiet. And in Maple's case, only if somebody had said something. And I blame myself to a certain point, because I was involved in her life, and we should have seen some of these signs, and none of us said anything. And because we chose to stay quiet, we lost someone so important to us. We can save numerous lives just by raising awareness. So this, Uncle G, again, I'm sorry, I'm going to refer to you. This was just the scratch on the surface. This is just a beginning. This is one movie pointing at one small issue. Deep down, this is a very, very deep-rooted problem that needs to be dealt with. And this affects not just women, not just pretty girls, it affects every single person in the world.
Thank you. I'm not going to touch on the issues that the movie deals with so powerfully. Thank you, Jocelyn, I commend you for making this movie. The issues of gender equality and violence against women. I think the speakers have already spoken so well on all these issues that we need to deal with and continue the discussion on. And Jocelyn, your movie points us in the right direction. I wanted to share a little bit of my connection with the film and just how the film closes. We all heard a powerful Punjabi poem written by Maple's mom, Maple Batalia, and maybe we all couldn't understand it. So my connection is that I actually I translated that poem into English, and I wanted to share it with you, and I did so quite by chance. Of course, I followed the coverage of of what was happening. And one day I picked up the newspaper and I saw Maple's mom's poem. And imagine how heart-wrenching that must have been for a mom to write basically a eulogy, a poem for her daughter. But I think it was a form of therapy for her, but it's also a way, she expressed it in the movie, of her to raise awareness, and she wants to continue to keep writing and sharing her words, her poetry on violence against women, and she was talking about the issue of drugs. So I'll just read the poem in the words I wrote in English, so those of you who can understand it can take something away from it as well. So in Punjabi it was called Maple Batalia. In English, Maple's Doli. I wanted to see my daughter off in a bridal carriage. Instead, evil sent her off in a funeral procession. I dreamed of seeing her through to marriage, but evil carried out its cruel obsession. My daughter was so full of love. She was so smart and polite. We raised her with gentle gloves. Too soon we said goodnight. Extinguishing our very own breath, evil took her away into death. I wanted to see her off in a bridal carriage and decorate it with flowers, paint her hands with henna before her marriage, but you stole away all her hours and left blood where Mendi should have been. Evil placed her in a coffin. Let daughters sit in carriages on their wedding day. Leave caskets empty till a faraway day. Allow parents' dignities to stay. Let this garden blossom, I pray. This mother's opened up her heart. I wanted to see my daughter's Doli depart. Evil stopped her before she could start. Evil stopped her before she could start. Again, I just wanted to share that, and again, commend you and everyone involved in making this film, definitely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I didn't know you were going to be here, but I actually did find your translation online, and I created a promo video, so if you guys go on our Facebook, you can see that. So thank you for that, because I really wanted to use the song, but I didn't want the translations to take away from the visual, so I did that separate video. But thank you so much for reading that today. And thank you everyone else for speaking up and for talking about these issues. I really hope this sparks a discussion in our community, and that we bring change, because this is a very serious issue. And just going back to what you said about education, yes, it starts at our homes. So like raising our children properly and letting them know that you are equal from the beginning. And the other thing with education is teaching in schools what a healthy relationship looks like. So Benita talks about this in the film as well. It's so important. And now I'm getting calls from high schools to show this in their schools. So I'm really glad that this is getting out there, and that hopefully we can use this to educate the youth as well, because they were 19 when this happened. Unbelievable. I know we have to wrap up, so I just want to thank Bisaf and Manu for everything, for letting us show this film here. It's so amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Do one last. Do you last comment?
So after listening to the comments and just being aware of this discussion throughout our lives, and most people here are Punjabi, I think that the what's happened now is we're at a crisis level and no one's dealing with it. I don't think at that level. Like something like this happening, like most of the friends I grew up with, we all had domestic violence in the house. I don't remember one Punjabi family that wasn't the same as the other one, so we were all similar that way. And if you the discussions that we're having are good, and I think we're well beyond as a society past the discussion stage. Like if you look at Hollywood, you got this rampant thing happening out there where it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's like 20 famous people being accused of this. And if you go back, and as the comments were coming on, I was just going back through, being almost 40 years old myself now, 20 years of this discussion going on, or since I was a 5-year-old kid dealing with domestic violence, which many people have dealt with here. And if you go back to the Guru's time, when Guru Nanak first would go out and see when a man would die, they would throw the woman on the funeral pyre and they would just say, you know, you've got to go too. So he stood up and said, you know what, we're going to stop. We're not doing this anymore. Guruji kehnde si bhi ek kaam nahi hona, band karo. So that's it's done. So the poem, the last couple of lines that you had there about fighting evil, I think the level of what needs to actually needs to happen now. Because we're well beyond is it wrong? Of course we know it's wrong. Gender equality, of course it has to happen. But you have to be vigilant in your own homes. Like, until females it's way beyond not even being close to being equal. And then I feel, as being, you know, part of the Punjabi community, it's even less than so in that realm. So when you have a female who can give birth to a child who's 17 times stronger than a male, but you have historically for thousands of years, men have been oppressing women, because I think it's a fear thing, because there's one individual is stronger than the other. So I think the discussion and the level of discussion and the things that need to happen, and not to like, it's very hard not to get angry or it's so-and-so's fault, and then you see something like this happen. So for every one person that you hear, and you saw those headlines of one person being murdered, another person being murdered, everybody knows for every one person that's murdered, there's thousands of hours and acts of violence that go on that nobody does anything about, whether it's a push to somebody's mom or a shove or a slighted comment. So we're at that opioid level crisis of like, people are dying of opioid crisis, people are being sexually harassed, groped at that level, even in Hollywood and mainstream society, that I think if we took the approach of our, you know, a lot of people here are Sikh by background, that Guru da time we gotta start actually doing something about this. And there's a lot of rage and anger in different directions. So taking the approach of what would happen at that time, and you know, you got the women were like Mai Bago and stories of fearless women that would go into battle with the Guru. These are the things we need to understand and respect. So we have to call ourselves on it as men if something's going wrong. And yeah, there is that, you know, one of the most underreported crimes is, you know, men getting pushed around by women, but that's still by percentage is so much smaller. So I think that we just have to be ever so vigilant to just push and do something about it. Like, really do something about it, because when it burbles up to this stage, you know it's gotten really, really, really bad. And we don't want to have to see even one, you know, I'm sure if that kid wasn't raised the way he was, and I'm guessing and stereotyping here probably, but I will just for the sake of this moment in the movie, that Punjabi kid that was given everything because he was the first boy in many generations, when a child is born and you just tell that child he's everything to everybody, he's got nothing to work up to. And this was the ultimate bad case, you know, the worst case scenario of what happens. So we're beyond the discussion stage, we're beyond the assessment stage, we're beyond the is this wrong stage. It's time to really do something. And sadly enough, after today, we'll see more of these headlines still, but let's not let their sacrifices be in vain, that's all.
Thank you, Jasleen. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to play this amazing documentary at the festival. You know, I think the festival just became a vehicle for you to be able to kind of tell the story to a lot of people. So, you know, we're behind you when you say you want to do more screenings. If there's any way we can help facilitate that, we want to do it, you know. I know we tried, but let's do a couple of more screenings and see if we can get more of our community together to create awareness. On my closing note, you know, I've been hearing a lot of stories in the last little while. I've been around a lot of empowering women, and one thing I want to say is that we need to take care of ourselves. So if you feel that you're being a victim of something, stand up for yourself, say no, find help, and that's just a personal thing from me. We just have to, whether it be a male or a female, mom, dad, kids, anybody, we just have to we have to stop being a victim. And if we stand up for ourselves, we can definitely protect ourselves and our community. So thank you for being here. I know it's a very, very heavy topic. We will be outside for a few minutes. If you guys have more questions for Jasleen, I think you're around for a little while. And if there's any closing notes you want to say, otherwise we'll end. Thank you for coming. Thank you.